Good morning. I hope everyone is having a lovely Thursday morning so far. My name is Kerry Dupree and I will be your guide for this afternoon session of Live at the Waterhole. We've started over at Founders Lodge with some rhinos. What a lovely way to start our afternoon. So just a reminder that this is a live and interactive experience. I will love to hear from you, so feel free to send through those comments and questions. I have some interesting topics that we're going to be discussing today, so I will also be sending some questions out to our viewers for you to answer for me. So really looking forward to spending this time here with you, and please just feel free to ask any questions. Lovely to see some rhinos here, so it is very special that we are allowed to show rhinos at this location. It looks like a nice overcast windy day in the Eastern Cape. Perfect weather for these rhinos to come down for an early morning or mid-morning drink. You can see lots of swallows, probably some barn swallows swooping down to have a bit of a drink. And talking about barn swallows today, one of the topics that has been requested is birds and migratory birds. So we will be touching on that topic of migratory birds and what migratory birds you can find in South Africa, some hotspot locations that are also very prominently visited by these migratory birds. Look at these rhinos, hey! I think it's a little bit too overcast and cool for them to have a mud bath. I know on nice hot days you get the rhinos coming down to cool themselves off, having a bit of a mud wallow, but it looks like it's a little bit of an overcast day. There's a bit of a breeze, so they might not be so interested to have a mud bath. It's a great little spot, especially for the warthogs. The warthogs love to come and have a little mud wallow here in this little pan. So the Eastern Cape does host mostly the white rhino. Populations have started increasing since 2023. They are a lot more stable, the white rhino populations. I believe there are some places in the Eastern Cape that do have small populations of black rhino, but the terrain in these areas, that nice open grassland terrain, is more suitable for white rhinos. So a lot of these private reserves within this region are engaged in rhino conservation programs. For example, not just here at Mantis, but also Kondwe is a great place where they like to protect and preserve their rhinos. They're very good at breeding their rhinos in these private reserves in order to maintain the populations. Thanks for visiting, guys. So we've got a comment from Some Kind of Melon, says happy thirsty Thursday. Yes, Some Kind of Lemon. It is a thirsty Thursday for these rhinos. And we have Claire Cat, says morning Kerry. Good morning Claire Cat. Thank you for sending your comment through. Lovely to have you joining us today. Oh, look at these rhinos. It looks like a sub-adult on the right. Alrighty folks, well, as our rhinos are about to disappear, let's head across to Simbavati, see what's happening at one of our other locations. Ooh, have a looky here. We have a herd of elephants that have come down to have a bit of a mud bath. The temperature looks a bit warmer here in the Simbavati. I'm sure they've had quite a bit of rain. You can see it's started to get a bit green, lots of greenery around, and I'm sure it is a nice hot humid day. So in some of these locations, yes, when the rain does arrive, it does get quite hot and humid. Oh, and we have some birds. We've got some Egyptian geese, and looks like we've got a grey heron. Agnes has sent through a comment. Agnes says, it's a pool party season. What are we all wearing? It definitely is a pool party season. These elephants seem to be wearing a coat of mud, enjoying cooling themselves down on these rather hot summer days. I do love elephant pool parties. You get lots of activity, and the big bulls, they go right in there. You can see them doing complete roly-polies. It's like these elephant bulls completely transform into young souls, and they just have an absolute great time. So I just had a look this morning to see what some of our updates have been on Africam the last couple of days, and we've had lots of elephant activity. Of course, there was an elephant acting rather unusual. It was soaking up some water, sucking up some water with its trunk, and then it looked like it was watering the trees around the pan. How strange. Alrighty folks, well, let's go and check out one of our other locations and see what's happening at Founders Lodge. Oh, what do we have here? I'm going to guess we've come back to Founders Lodge, and I'm going to guess these are probably juvenile Egyptian geese or Egyptian geese chicks. I know we do have a pair of shelled ducks that sometimes visits this waterhole, but I know more frequently the Egyptian geese like to hang out here. Isn't this cute? He looks like he's grooming himself. Clean those feathers. And its other little sibling is just sitting there hiding out of the wind like, no, it's a windy day, I'm not doing anything, I'm just going to sleep here very comfortably. So there used to be, I think, when was it? So the last time I saw them, maybe last week, there was at least 4 little ducklings or Egyptian goslings, and obviously there are lots of predators out there that will snatch these little guys. Unfortunately, these little chicks do appear quite small and fluffy. They've still got their down feathers, typically light brown, as well as a bit of darker brown stripes and spots, and that helps to camouflage these little Egyptian geese into the environment. They do completely transform and change their color once they become adults. The chicks are precocial, so that means that they can walk and swim as well as feed themselves very shortly after hatching. Oh, there we go. Ah, how cute. Looks like we've still got a few more. So there should be 4. Last time I saw 4, so we've got 3 little Egyptian goslings here. This one that's grooming itself looks quite a little bit larger. It's even got a little rufous rump. These little goslings, although they're precocial and can take care of themselves when they are hatched, they do stay very close to the parents, and that's for protection. Male and female Egyptian geese will be very protective over their young, chase away any predators, but there are a lot of predators out there. I believe we had a leopard. I can't remember who it was, but it wasn't, I think Cedric had a sighting the one day of one of the leopards at Jackie's pan that ate one of the little Egyptian geese, which doesn't surprise me. Anything will eat an Egyptian goose if they can catch up with one. Just like maybe jackal. I've seen lion cubs hunting little Egyptian geese. But yeah, luckily they've got very protective parents that do help to protect them. He's really cleaning himself well, isn't he? So generally a clutch of these Egyptian geese will consist of anything between 5 to 12 eggs, but if 2 or 3 individuals survive the first year, it's normally quite successful. The incubation period is about 28 to 30 days, and usually the female is the one that will be sitting on the nest. Within a few weeks of these little goslings hatching, they can already start moving around, and they grow very quickly. They'll be fledged within 8 to 10 weeks depending on the availability of food as well as safety from predators. Oh, isn't this cute? Look at his little foot there. And as we know, Egyptian geese are very territorial. So the family unit can be quite aggressive in protecting their little waterhole. especially if any other geese or waterfowl come close by. The parents will chase off any other individuals, which I wonder where the parents are. They can't be too far away. I know just off to the side of this waterhole on the left hand side there's a little bit of green grass that I think I saw them feeding at last week. So they could be, parents could be feeding while these little goslings are hiding out of the wind. As you can see, it is a rather windy day. Quite cute to see. Okay, little guys. These chicks, when they're still young like this, they do make a soft sound, a bit of a peeping sound, and that's a communication with their parents if they get lost or if they're a bit nervous or scared. So the parents will keep track of their chicks, especially if they're near water or open grassland areas, and they can move from one water source to the other. I remember when I was at Juma, we had some of the Egyptian geese that moved from Baobab Dam all the way to the main Juma Dam, so it was quite cool. So Emily has asked a question. Kerry, what is your favorite animal that lives in the sea? Oof, Emily, that's such a hard question. There's so many ocean and aquatic creatures out there, but I think I'm going to have to go with the seahorse. I love little seahorses because they come in such a variety of different shapes, sizes and colors. They're very interesting little creatures that are often overlooked, but I'd love to hear from you, Emily, what your favorite ocean creature is. I know most people go for your whales or your dolphins generally, but I love seahorses. Please send through if you would like to let me know what your favorite sea creature is. I'd love to hear from you. It's quite interesting. It looks like these two goslings are from, these three goslings are from different clutches. Because have a look at the gosling on the left. It's quite a lot larger than these two on the right. Oh, something just ran down the hill. Could have been a lapsmith, blacksmith, lapwing of some sort. They are all, do have little wagtails, cape wagtails, but that looked like some black legs that quickly ran past this pan. It's rather strange. Have a look at the size difference here. This one on the left is quite a lot larger than these little goslings on the right. Shame. I can believe these guys are really trying their best to keep out of that wind. That's why they're so close to the water. But as soon as they get up onto that ridge there, oof, that wind in the Eastern Cape can be quite strong for little birds like this. I've got a question here from Hannah, and Hannah's asking, do all bird parents eat the fecal sac? So Hannah, yes, most bird parents will feed on the fecal sac. It's a very good source of protein, and just like with antelope, they want to remove any signs of their chicks being recently hatched that might attract predators. So most altricial chicks, which is those that are born naked and helpless, like us, your sunbirds or flycatchers within a nest, they'll produce waste in a thin membrane called the fecal sac, and the sac keeps the nest clean, making it easier for parents to remove waste without contaminating the nest or attracting predators. So yeah, any sign of birth is always removed. Alrighty folks, while we're on a birding mission, let's head across to Lentor and see what birds we have. So we did have some little birds here, but of course, as soon as we linked across, it disappeared. But a very good thumbs up to our Zoomy for getting such a nice close-up of this thorn bush here. I can imagine it would have been a perfect photo if there was a bird sitting right in the middle. And I think these are the thorny branches on the side of the pan here. Alright folks, let's head across to Tembe and see what other birds we have. Oh, sorry, we're actually at Tembo Plains in Zimbabwe, which is a new camera, new location. So very excited to share a new location with you. And speaking of migratory birds, these are carmine bee-eaters. Oh, and if you look, the one beater at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so apparently this is not a new location. We just haven't visited here for a while, so I'm always excited to visit places we don't go to often. But if you see this carmine bee-eater, it looks like he's got a wasp. Oh, and he's really struggling to swallow that wasp. How exciting. So these carmine bee-eaters will come and they normally nest in the valley, the Zambezi Valley, along those incredible riverbanks. They'll nest in these riverbanks and you'll have colonies of hundreds of these bee-eaters nesting in the banks there. So we have a question from Gail, and Gail is asking, are beaks of birds made of keratin? So yes, bird beaks or bills are made primarily of keratin, which is the same protein made up of human nails as well as animal hooves or reptile scales. Got another question here from Milaskrand, has asked, you just know these goslings are super soft. Yes, I can imagine. Oh, I love it when you have little baby ducks or goslings. As they hatch, they normally have quite a strong or deep yellow color. You know, they're very fluffy, very soft. They still have those down feathers. And we have another question from Nathan. Nathan says, are they bigger than the green ones? Nathan, so I'm not sure which green ones you're referring to. There's a... So what's happening with this bee-eater? So, oh, there's a white-fronted bee-eater on the left. And I don't know what these bee-eaters are doing on the right-hand side of the screen. Look at this unusual behavior. Isn't that strange? They're like tilting their heads back. And I'm not too sure what they are doing. What are these bee-eaters doing? Rather strange behavior. But yeah, the common bee-eaters are quite a large bee-eater. I'd say they're a lot larger than your little bee-eater, for example. They're quite big birds. You can see a juvenile just on the left-hand side there. And it's probably one of my favorite birds, bee-eaters, because they are so vibrantly pink and they normally have quite a deep color of blue, like a bluish-green crown. I don't know if these bee-eaters on the right here are tired or what they're doing, but it's very unusual behavior that I've not quite seen before. They're tilting their head back. Maybe they're having a quick cat nap, resting a little bit. Bee-eaters are quite busy birds, so they spend a lot of time moving around, feeding. As you can see, they're hawking, looking for insects, and also flying over the water, trying to get a drink as well. So quite strange behavior for these bee-eaters. Alright, I believe our birds have returned to Lentor, so let's go see what birds we have. Oh, looks like we have got some weavers of some sort. Could be some sort of lesser mast weaver. Oh, and there's a female sunbird. How cool. See a female sunbird at the bottom, and a red-billed aquila. So two. Oh, and there's a male. So there's a female red-billed aquila at the top, and we've got a male red-billed aquila at the bottom of the screen here. He's got like a black face mask. I was quite excited to see some red-billed aquila over in Kenya. I didn't see them very often, but very exciting to see some new bird species. So yeah, have a look at these guys. So you find here at Lentor there's this lovely thick area with lots of thorny branches, which is a perfect place for the birds to come down to the water before they go down to actually have a drink. So it's a nice little safe spot in case there's any bigger birds of prey around. They'll definitely prey off these smaller birds of prey. Could have a red face cordon bleu at the bottom right hand side of the screen as well. So these red-billed aquilas will normally travel in these large flocks. It can be quite a nuisance if they go close to farmlands, as they are in very big numbers, and they do eat quite a lot. They'll feed on seed and grain. But yeah, it's awesome to see them here in such large numbers. Hey, little guys. Perfect little hidey spot. I find they like to come, so it's almost like the giraffe, how giraffe are skeptical when they come down to a waterhole to drink. So they'll land in this thorny bush first and have a look out, make sure there's no predators, make sure it's safe before they go down for a drink. Very pretty little birds. The females are less vibrantly coloured than the males, although the males only really have a difference in the colour of the black. They've got a black facial mask. I wonder if we're going to get any firefinches. I know we often see some firefinches here, African firefinch. Maybe a grenadier or two. Purple grenadier. So Tess is asking a very good question. Tess is asking, is it true that touching a fallen chick will make its mom abandon it? So yes, Tess, generally if you find any little creatures out in the bush, it's always best to leave them be as they are, because generally, especially like with little antelope, often their mothers can leave them stashed away in a little thicket, and they will always return for their little one. But the minute we then interfere, or humans interfere, and the smell of humans then gets onto any wild creature, it will very much deter the parents from then adopting that little one back into their family. So yeah, it's always best to leave nature as it is, and generally the parents are close by. I think that's what often happens with pangolins in West Africa. People find a little pangolin by itself on a trail, but generally small pangolins will follow their parents. They often will. Alrighty, why don't we head across to King's Camps? Oop, looks like we have an elephant pool party over at King's Camp. Look at these elephants, they are very, very red. Obviously the soil in this area is quite dark in colour. They've all been having mud baths, so yes, the rainy season is great, but it does also make for quite hot, humid weather, which then means these elephants will enjoy splishing and splashing around in the water.
This unfolds in front of you.
Oh, even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh. Woo! This is action-packed.
I get to wake up every morning and go out there and look for cats. I get to create my everyday safari for myself. I grew up in the sort of central eastern suburbs of Johannesburg, fully qualified trails guide and a fully qualified nature conservationist. I love the wild places. I love being in the wilderness. It's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had and probably ever could have.
This is unbelievable.
Oh, she's gonna catch it.
Come on, Tommy. Watch this, we're about to see a kill.
You can see how close he is from where I am.
member individuals from their herd. Have a look at this elephant sucking up water. So they'll splash behind their ears and in between their legs. It's the best place to cool them down. Especially on a hot day like this, because elephants are not able to sweat like us humans can to cool ourselves down. So how elephants cool themselves down or thermoregulate is one by flapping their ears, which cools down the blood within the blood vessels running through their ears and circulates cool blood throughout their bodies, but also by having mud baths. Oh, there's a little one in the waterhole. Look at this guy. Righty folks, well it seems like we've got a bird bath happening over at Lentor. Let's see what's happening there. So it looks like all of our birds are coming down to the water finally. So talking about birds and migration, so basically if you're wondering about migratory birds and migrations and why birds migrate, so birds migrate primarily for food, for purposes of finding food as well as suitable breeding grounds and favorable weather conditions. So in temperature or northern regions, so in hotter or northern regions, winters are harsh and food becomes scarce. So that's why they need to move to different areas. So many birds therefore fly south towards Africa, where temperatures are warmer and insects and seeds are more abundant. Also, once the rains start, it ignites a flush of insects. Lots of little flying ants, your termites, those elates are all out, and lots of different insects. You'll get the birds that follow this flush of insects. So migration is guided by a combination of days, very long days, and the temperature changes as well as instinct. So these birds, it's incredible, these little migratory birds. Like when I was in Congo, we had the little willow warblers that is known to be one of the smallest migratory birds in Africa, and they come through and they just, it's amazing how they have their instinct, and the changes in temperature will all of a sudden give them a signal that it's time to move. So the reason that migration helps birds, as we mentioned, to access seasonal food sources, avoid extreme cold or drought, as well as raise their young in a safer as well as a more productive environment. Looks like we've got a little Namakwa dove also that has joined us. Maybe an African firefinch on the right. So many little birds also coming down to have a pool party, just like the elephants. Sure, it is a hot day out there in Kenya, so these smaller birds also need to cool themselves down. Oh, we have quite an interesting blackbird. Lots of very interesting little birds coming up here. So as I mentioned earlier, I think we've got one of the African firefinches here. On the right, we've got some red-billed aquila. One of the... oh, I think this is one of the weavers, could be one of the masked weavers, but we had an interesting blackbird that was also flying around. We'll keep an eye out for him. Wonder if our little squirrel friend is still here. Let's have a look. I do love the little male red-billed aquilias. They're quite interestingly coloured with that black mask of theirs. It's amazing, all these tiny little birds that come down to have a drink at the waterhole. And that's what I love about these waterholes, is when they're not busy with elephants, you get such an array of other little creatures that come down to the waterhole. Birds, squirrels, maybe your smaller predators that might not come down to the waterhole when it's too busy. This will also be a perfect time for a little bushbuck, little antelope to come down. Maybe if we're lucky, a dik-dik. That would be pretty amazing to see a dik-dik here at Lentore. Guys, these do look like the little African firefinches. Lots of males. And interesting other birds here on the right. If you see, they look like, I don't think they're the female firefinches, but if we have any of our viewers that are good or up to scratch on the Kenyan birds, it looks like there's another species of firefinch here. So I know we do get common firefinches here, we do get the African firefinch, but there was another firefinch species that I'm not too sure what it could be. Oh, look at these red-billed Quelea. Cooling themselves down on a nice hot day, and then after they've wet their feathers, they'll then go and sit up on a branch and start grooming themselves and cleaning all the water off their wings. They look so happy, don't they? So just to give you an idea, we're talking about migratory birds today, folks, and some of the migratory birds that we can expect in South Africa. So each year, thousands of Palearctic migrants from Europe and Asia will then migrate to southern Africa through parts of East Africa. And the Palearctic migrants, the species that you could find in South Africa are your Amur falcons, and they travel from northern China and Mongolia to southern Africa. You can find them in Escort in KwaZulu-Natal. There's some nesting colonies there of these Amur falcons. Of course, we could expect lots of bee-eater species like your European bee-eaters, very colorful flocks arriving around September, which can be found across your savannas and farmlands. Very common barn swallows, so famous for roosting in areas near Mtumzini in KwaZulu-Natal. It would be cool to see the barn swallow colonies nesting. Of course, we have steppe buzzards, common and lesser kestrels, and your white storks. Oh, there's a cutthroat finch. Wow. There was a bird here that had a red stripe underneath its throat, known as a cutthroat finch. I haven't seen a cutthroat finch for a while, but very cool. So lots of little waxbills and finches, but really epic to see. So it's the male cutthroat finch that has that very prominent red, almost looks like he's been sliced underneath his throat there. Very red patch. I think this could be a female red-faced cordon bleu. Males normally have these little red cheeks. So Sophia Almeida has asked a question: why do carmine beaters migrate in huge red flocks? So Sophia, when the carmine beaters are fully matured, that's when they'll have that bright red color. Oh, we've got some more birds here. What are these birds? If anyone knows what birds these are, I'd love to know what little birds these are with the grey heads. These are not a bird that I know very commonly. So it's got a rufusy body with a grey little head. What could they be? So yeah, they generally, when they're adults, that's when they'll migrate, and they move in big flocks. It's always good protection in numbers. So great protection in larger numbers, these carmine bee eaters, and they always do nest in big colonies together. I'm not too sure what those birds were, but very exciting. If any of our viewers did see them, please feel free to let me know. Still got our little emerald spotted dove. Oh, and our little squirrel coming down for a drink. I know here at Lentor there's been some amazing photos or photography that's been taken at this pan. Very, very special, especially at night. Imagine seeing a serval or a caracal. Oh, it'd be great to see some caracal. I know there were some lions here last week. Hey little guys, I'm hoping those birds will come back. There's some mystery birds that were here just now, and I couldn't quite get a picture in time quick enough to see what they are, but it'd be very cool. They could be little silver birds. But they were in a flock. So I'm not sure. I think that all the silver birds I have seen before normally occur either, I've just seen one, or in pairs. I'm not sure if the silver birds actually occur in flocks, and I think they just had more prominent grey head and the whole body was rufous. I don't think I saw any grey on its back. So I wonder what these little birds could be. Hello, little guy. Alrighty, folks, let's head across to Tau, see what else is happening. Ooh, look at the interesting scene we have here. So I think there's a wildebeest in the distance, but we've got a yellow-billed stork that is sunning his wings, and I think this could be a Goliath heron on the right here. Awesome to see a Goliath heron. Looks like we've got some teals, could be Cape teals, blacksmith lapwings. Oh, lots of birding here at Tau, always very busy and active. Oh, and we've also got a spoonbill and some white-faced whistling ducks. Very, very exciting. I love the birds at this location. It's always busy with birds. We have a question from David Bilston from the UK. Has asked, hello Kerry, do you think that smell plays any part for migratory birds? David, so I think it's more the seismic activity or climate, the weather changing, that the birds will then pick up that the rains are coming. So birds are very intuitive with the environment, what's happening in the atmosphere. So they can sense when the rains are coming, and that's when they will then move. So we were talking a lot earlier about migratory birds like our white storks, for example. Oh, what is this? So this is a yellow-billed stork, but our white storks, for example, you do get very large flocks. They should be arriving very soon. Pretty sure within the next couple of weeks, if they haven't already started arriving. I know in the green season and the rainy season, December, January, that's when all the white storks should be here, but they'll basically migrate from Europe to southern Africa, and they're often seen in the high veld grassland areas. Isn't this a lovely scene here? Look, we've got one yellow-billed stork, 3 spoonbills, we've got 1, 3, 5, 6 white-faced whistling ducks, 2 Cape teals, 1 blacksmith lapwing. Now, water levels really are dwindling here at Tau, but still seems to be enough water and perfect little habitat for all these water birds. So a lot of these migratory birds, they will move seasonally within the continent. So you get intra-African migrants and you get Palearctic migrants. So intra-African migrants will migrate within Africa and have local movements, like our white-faced whistling ducks, for example. They'll have a lot of local movements, but they will not migrate out of Africa, same as the spoonbills. So they'll move in different times of the year when water sources are very low and dwindling. Other intra-African migratory bird species are your woodland kingfishers, your red-chested cuckoos, which I love it when the cuckoos start arriving. Normally when the rains start arriving, that's when all your Deirdre's cuckoo, your Levian's cuckoo, your red-chested cuckoo, black cuckoos, they all follow the rain. So it's lovely to have these migratory species. Looks like we've got a wildebeest. Oh, maybe a herd of wildebeest that are coming down for a drink. The brindled gnu. Does look quite barren out there in Tau. Looks like they've had a little bit of rain, but not nearly enough. So hopefully this pan and the rest of the waterholes at Tau will fill up this rainy season. We've got another question from Kofi, is asking what is the, I think you mean tallest stork, and so one of the largest storks we have in Africa, or I think herons, one of the largest herons we have is the Goliath heron. Goliath heron is quite a large bird, incredible wingspan, so massive birds. We do have lots of different bird and stork species. Some of my favorite large birds of prey or raptors are, of course, our crowned eagles. A crowned eagle, big adults, can weigh anything between about 6 to 8 kilograms, and they're specialized in hunting primates. imagine a bird of prey that can hunt down a primate or a small antelope like a duiker, blue duiker or common duiker. It's incredible how strong these birds of prey are. Seems like just 2 wildebeest. How strange. Talking about storks, Abdom storks are also some intra-African migrants. They normally travel southwest after breeding in northern Africa. And some more intra-African migrants are our pygmy kingfisher, yellow-billed kites, and of course we have a variety of cuckoos that are intra-African migrants. In West Africa, for example, there are some cuckoo species that will actually be resident. So I know the black cuckoo, dusky long-tailed cuckoo, so some cuckoos don't always migrate. Oh, got a common moorhen. So out and about on his little daily missions, probably looking for a meal. So we've got a question from Zahara, has asked, do African storks use their bills as spears for frog hunting? So yes, we've got a lot of storks and herons in Africa that will use their bills to stab their prey. These 2 spoonbills, African spoonbills for example, will use their filter feeders. So they will, oh, I think we've got another visitor at the waterhole. Lots of visitors out and about here today. Hey guys. Yeah, so the spoonbills will filter feed, so they will keep their bill open as they move through the water, and as soon as they feel something in their bills, they've got lots of very good sensitive, they're feeling, they've got a very good sensitive little bill, and as soon as they feel something moving between their bill, they'll quickly snap it closed and there's a meal for them. But yeah, often you'll see herons will stab their prey. So what else do we have out and about? Oh, looks like we've got some zebra. It's very quiet out there today, but you can see the vegetation is changing here, Tal. So lovely to see a bit of greenery. Hopefully they'll have some nice grass cover very soon. Yeah, so dry out there in some of our locations, but the rains have started arriving, which is such a special time of the year when the first rains arrive. Love that smell, that fresh rain smell. Oh, it's incredible. Some of the rivers, I've seen some of the rivers in Zimbabwe have already started flowing. I mean, these are rivers that are, say, 75 to 80% of the year they're completely dry. So to have water all of a sudden gushing down into these riverbeds is just a magic time of year. Oh, got some more birds. Looks like we could have some coots. A waterbuck, big male waterbuck. Wonder where the females are. Grey heron, we were just talking about. Oh, black-headed heron on the right there. So many water birds. I think we'd get a really lovely bird list, or a really long bird list here at Tau if you were to sit here for the whole day. So Kwesi Boteng has asked a question. Alrighty folks, let's head across to Tembe over in South Africa and we'll see what's happening at one of the other locations. Ooh, looks like we have an elephant-filled day here at Tembe. So awesome to see these gentle giants of the African bush. Looks like an overcast day, nice windy day, similar to in the Eastern Cape. We started off our show today in the Eastern Cape and it also looked rather windy, rather cool and fresh, which seems like the same here in Tembe. I do love this location because Tembe seems to have quite different, I think it's because of their location to the ocean. They have a different climate, different habitat, so it's generally green throughout the year. Yeah, in the dry season it does get a little less green, but generally these sand forests are mostly green throughout the year. Look at this big bull sanding himself. So we're talking about elephants and how elephants cool themselves down by flapping their ears, spraying water behind their ears and in between their legs, but also dust bathing is a great way for elephants to cool themselves down. Alrighty folks, let's head across to Rosie's pan. Ooh, looks like we've got a magpie shrike. Love the call of these magpie shrikes. So they normally travel in flocks, quite large numbers. Anything between about 2 to 6 individuals, but normally in flocks of 4, pairs, male and female. He's opening his mouth like that, and again, this is the way that birds cool themselves down. Again, birds cannot sweat, so to cool themselves down, birds also have to mechanically cool themselves down. This is known as gula flapping. So if it's a very hot day, you'll see them with their mouths open, and they will gula flap to cool themselves down, or like we saw our little birds over at Lintore having a bath. I have a question from Kwesi, and Kwesi's asking, how do white storks deliver babies in Africa? So Kwesi, yes, it's still a bit of a folklore in Africa. We do, there are lots of tales of white storks delivering babies, but yeah, I guess they'll deliver them straight to your doorstep. Storks. Shame, this magpie shrike looks rather hot. As I mentioned, we are going into our rainy season now here in Africa, so yes, we are very grateful for the rains, but in some locations it hasn't quite started raining yet. This magpie shrike looks like he is in a leadwood tree, which they're predominantly green throughout the year, so it could be quite a hot day over at Rosie's pan. Perfect little tree for him to hop about in, because it's got lots of little holes, lots of little nooks and crannies. Perfect place for this magpie shrike to search and dig for any little creatures that might be living in these holes of the leadwood tree. Such long tails that these magpie shrikes have, and I love their call. They have such a lovely melodious call. I've only seen one individual here, but hopefully there'll be some more. See how well he's camouflaged and blending in. So we're talking about migratory birds today, and some of the other hotspot locations in South Africa we have as Escort and Newcastle. Alright, well, our magpie shrike seems to be hiding, so let's head back to Tembe, see what's happening with our elephants. We've still got our big elephant giants splashing themselves with sand, sanding themselves. We've got a woolly neck stork, which is, well, 3 woolly neck storks, which are intra-African migrants. So we got a question from Jax Thornbeak, is asking, why do magpie shrikes impale prey on thorns like gruesome trophies? It's a very good question, Jax. So yes, magpie shrikes, a lot of the magpie shrikes are known to impale their prey on thorns or fences, and not only is this one a way to save food for later, but also it's a way that they attract a female. So just like with your southern ground hornbills, how the male will collect a little gift or a proposal gift and take it to his female southern ground hornbill and present it to her as a gift. Same with the magpie shrikes, so that if a female magpie shrike is in the area, She will then hopefully see how much food that he is offering to her as a little gift, and hopefully she will accept to mate with him. So yeah, there's quite a few different purposes. They do like caching or storing their food, just like squirrels, so it's also a good way, especially in the rainy season like now when there's abundance of insects. You can only eat so fast, so they might catch an abundance of grasshoppers or insects, store them on a little thorn, and come back for them later. Oh, lovely to see some nyala. I think at least 3 female nyala that just moved across behind these elephants. Perfect habitat here in Tembe Elephant Park with all these very thick, so generally nyala need to have quite thick habitats. They like to live in very thick overgrown areas. It's a lovely place for them. It's so lovely watching these elephants. Look at, while we've got some nice big bulls here, you can see the difference in the tusk structure. This one bull on the left has quite short stubby tusks, although their one tusk seems a bit more curved to the left. Some other big bulls just have long straight tusks. Very interesting, all depending on their genes, their DNA, their genetics, also how much they've used their tusks, if they've broken them at all and they've had to regrow. What is this elephant doing? Oh, this is our floppy-eared elephant friend. Shame, he's obviously damaged the cartilage in his ear at some stage. Got another question, interesting question from Ren Dax is asking, do herds coordinate trunk high fives as social greetings? Very interesting question, Ren. I wouldn't say I've seen elephants high-fiving their trunks too often, but what they do like to do, especially elephant bulls, is they like to stick their trunks in each other's mouths. It's quite unusual. So once you have different elephants coming to meet each other, there might be a bit of hostile interaction between them, where their body language changes quite a bit. They hold their heads up, they might have their ears forward, there might be a bit of communication. But once they get closer to each other, how they exchange information or how they greet each other in a more personal way, should you say, for elephants, they'll then lift up their trunks and often flop their trunks on the other male's head, or again stick their trunks in each other's mouths to smell each other. Again, a very unusual way of greeting, same as with hyena. Hyena often will sniff each other's genitalia, and that is the way that hyena will meet and greet each other. Again, olfactory senses, smells are so important in the animal kingdom. It gives away a lot of information about that individual. Their sex, their age, if they're sexually mature, are they dominant individuals? It's very important in the animal kingdom.
Oh, wow. What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold. A mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Columns are then springy limbs like little gazelles. They're very straight, pillar-like bones. Oh, we have a big bird of prey at cat eye. Oh, have a looky here, folks. We've got a very large bird of prey. This looks like a tawny eagle. Oh, yes, it is a very pretty tawny eagle. And it looked like it could have been killing something or maneuvering around something. Maybe it made a kill, maybe a little rodent, maybe a smaller bird. So we were just talking about earlier when we were at Lentore how those small little birds or tiny little birds, your finches, your waxbills, even doves need to be so careful of these larger birds of prey because they can be very easily taken out. So see what happened with this tawny eagle. I wonder what he has caught. Probably patiently waiting by in a tree close by and took a chance to make a kill. How exciting! You don't see a predatory bird or a large bird of prey like this making a kill too often. Oh, cool. Come on, guys. Show us what you have killed. So it's a very light bird of prey. Come on. You're just hiding behind the stump here. Whoop. Is it moving? See the very prominent color of this tawny eagle. So I do love how tawny eagles are quite a variable species in their color. So from region to region, they do have quite a variety of different colors they occur in. So this is quite a light individual, but you do get some tawnies that are also very dark. What have you killed? Whatever it's killed is hiding behind this stump, but I'm sure it seemed like it had possibly made a kill. So have a look at the feet and the bill. I'd never noticed this before, but look how the feet and the bill are almost matching. Yellow skin on their feet with those black nails, talons and nasty claws for hunting, ripping apart flesh. And then have a look at the sear on its bill, bright yellow, also with black at the tip of its bill. So yes, these tawny eagles will scavenge at kill sites, but they can also hunt for themselves. What have you captured? Oh, it's quite strange. This tawny eagle is acting rather strange. Maybe it had something strange for breakfast, which is confusing it a little bit. It seemed to be feeding on the fresh new leaves of this little shrub. So I have a question here from Sienna. Is asking, why do tawny eagles scavenge roadkill and carrion more than they hunt? So Sienna, tawny eagles are large raptors, of course, and they do hunt a lot of large prey themselves. So hunting does consume a lot of energies though, so scavenging allows them to get a high calorie meal with very minimal effort, which is ideal for conserving energy. So they are opportunistic feeders, so yes, if there's an opportunity for them to feed, they'll definitely take the advantage of an easy meal and hunt. But roadkill, as well as any carcasses, feeding at a carcass or any dead wildlife, it's so abundant within these areas. Yes, they have to fight with the vultures, and if they don't get there first, they'll have to wait their turn. But scavenging is quite a reliable source of food for these birds of prey. They will have lots of competition, not just with other tawny eagles, but other birds of prey. Look, he's feeding on the leaves. Maybe this tawny eagle is trying to get its fiber in for the day, because these birds are omnivorous birds, so not necessarily herbivores, but yeah, some birds do eat leaves in order to assist in digestion, so yes, it can serve as fiber, especially in species that consume a lot of fruit and seeds like your palm nut vultures. But these scavenging birds of prey might consume leaves to help with their digestive system, support their gut health. Never seen this before. Quite interesting behavior. So we're talking about migratory birds today, and yes, although we get intra-African kites and Palearctic kites in Africa, these tawny eagles, I wouldn't say they're a migratory species. They do have local movements from one area to the other, again depending on food source and availability of food, but I wouldn't say they are a migratory bird. Alrighty folks, let's head across to Serengeti and see what's happening in another location. Well, we've got our red-headed rock agama here, also known as the Spider-Man lizard. Look at those bright colors. I do love these agamas. We did have lots of them in the Masai Mara, where I was based out of Nkewa. Would be the most prominent lizard species within the region. They do have a striking color, that bright red to orange upper body or head, as well as a very bright blue tail and rare legs. The males especially are dominant. They show their very vivid colors, and the colors do actually change depending on the mood of the particular lizard. So if they're very angry or if it's hot, they become very red. It's obviously his little territory. Must be a female somewhere close by. Normally there's at least 1 to 2 females within one male's territory. Oh, there he is. All part of his little daily routine. So Erica Oldno, thank you for joining us. Erica has just joined us. Nice, she says, it's nice to have you back, Kerry. Greetings from Cape Town. Erica, I hope you are having some pleasant weather in Cape Town and hopefully receiving some rains. And it is great to be back. Always love seeing what is happening live at the waterhole. Isn't he a spunky little lizard? Very elaborately colored. So Peter and Jassie are commenting on this lizard. So very punky little rock lizard. And yes, very beautiful colors. It's a shame. The female is not very vibrantly colored compared to this male. Oop. Thanks to our Zoomy for the incredible zooming in skills here. Lovely to see these lizards close up. See on his face, it's almost pink. Alright folks, let's head back to Cat Eye Pan and see what our tawny eagle is up to. So a very interesting behavior of this tawny eagle. When we first linked across, it looked like it had a kill. Now I'm not too sure. Maybe its kill escaped and ran away, and then it started feeding on some leaves. Maybe he's thirsty now, that's why it's coming down to the water for a drink. So it's interesting with the juveniles. The juvenile tawny eagles are also very pale in color, generally have streaky underparts, and the wingspan of this tawny eagle can be anything between 1 to 2.2 meters, or around about 5 to 7 feet. So it's a medium-sized raptor or bird of prey. Oop, what's he looking at? Incredible eyesight. As you saw, he just scanned and looked ahead to see if there was anything coming, and he is gula flapping. We were talking about how birds cool themselves down by gula flapping. Have a look at his little tongue. He'll open his mouth and they will kind of estivate, breathe very quickly, very rapidly, and that's a good way for birds to cool themselves down. So they're very common across sub-Saharan Africa as well as into the Middle East, and they can also be found in India. And they generally prefer these open savannas, semi-desert grasslands and shrublands. This behavior of this tawny eagle is quite baffling. He looks like he's investigating something. You can see he's definitely a bit cautious before he comes down for a drink. So we have a question from Rough Quill, and Rough Quill is asking, do tawny eagles really spot prey from over 1 kilometer away? And yes, Rough Quill, so tawny eagles, as I mentioned, have incredible eyesight, so very sharp eyesight, and they can see for over 1 kilometer. It's a bit of a general estimate, but it's probably somewhere around 1 kilometer. And just like most raptors, tawny eagles have very large eyes in relation to their head size, giving them a wide field of view and very accurate vision. I'm just monitoring this tawny eagle's behavior to see what is he up to. I was really excited to see if he had a kill. So this... Sorry folks for the aeroplane sounds in the background here. I guess some travelers are arriving probably to Lanseria Airport, so apologies from that on my side. Check at this tawny eagle. I think his legs got his legs wet a little bit. Is he going to show us if he killed something? Such strange looking birds. Well, our tawny eagle has disappeared, so let's head back to Tembe Elephant Park, see what our elephants are up to. It seems like we've still got quite a few very chilled elephants here at Tembe. I do love this one particular acacia tree on the other side of this waterhole. Not only does it have lovely soft sand, but it's also a nice rubbing post for these elephants. You can never go wrong watching elephants. Tembe Elephant Park does cover about 300 kilometer squares, or that's about 30,000 hectares, based in Maputo land region of KwaZulu-Natal. So it lies on the border with Mozambique and forms part of a very large Lumbombo transfrontier landscape. The park was proclaimed in about 1982-83 by the Tembe traditional authorities as well as Ezemvelo KZN Wildlife to protect these elephants that migrate through these two different countries. Looks like we've got a mud party going on here. The Tembe is famous for its huge elephant tuskers, and if you have been to South Africa a few times and you're looking for a new location to visit and you're a big fan of elephants, I would definitely recommend paying Tembe Elephant Park a visit. I've been there and it's a very special place. I mean, these massive elephant tuskers are very commonly seen throughout the park. And it does host one of the last natural occurring indigenous elephant populations within the region. So very special to still have this incredible bloodline of these elephants. In some areas you are getting elephant bulls that don't necessarily have very long tusks anymore, whereas here within this area these elephants are very well protected, and that's a good way to preserve the genes and genetics of these very big elephant tuskers. Tembe is a key anchor protection area in this transboundary Lubombo landscape with Mozambique, so meaning it does play a very vital role in regional conservation as well as connecting and the biodiversity resilience. So it's also protecting these incredible sand forests, which are not just home to these elephants but many different species. I do love the birds here. You get incredible bird life in Tembe Elephant Park as well. Oh, look at these elephants as they're resting in the shade of these trees. Their trunks sometimes get a little bit too heavy for them. They'll rest their trunks on their tusks. So in this area, when we're talking about migratory birds, best time to visit Tembe when there's a high population of migrating birds would be from November to April. So during this time, you'll catch the arrival of many migrants. It's a high activity zone, and in general, the wildlife is also very good during this time. So if you also more focused on the wildlife side, the best time to visit Tembe Elephant Park for a wildlife experience is from May to September. And that's better for the visibility of these animals. But yeah, very cool to see different species here in Tembe. I'd love to see a leopard. I've seen lions here at this pan before, but I've not seen a Tembe leopard. I'd love to see what these leopards in Tembe and these sand forests might look like. And some of the migratory birds you can find here in Tembe Elephant Park might be the steppe eagles. Of course, we do get white-backed ducks, the red-billed teals can also be found in Tembe, but those will be intra-African migrants. Got some impala also coming down, a nice big herd of impala. There always seems to be some activity here at Tembe. Always some elephants around, and if not, there are lots of antelope species. Or impala, nyala, it'd be great to see some bushbuck. It's interesting, the habitat here at Tembe Elephant Park, they've got a variety of not just only the sand forest, but these scrublands as well as woodlands, which make a great meeting zone for all sorts of tropical species that might be on the further southern limits within the range. And you also get those northern migrants that might move through Tembe Elephant Park as well. Not seeing any birds out and about today. I know if we're lucky, there's a pair of fish eagle or a fish eagle juvenile that sometimes we see here. There's sometimes a brown-hooded kingfisher, a pair of little bee-eaters. I've once seen a pied kingfisher, which I haven't seen for a while. We do have our 3 woolly neck storks, our intra-African migrants. Often some hardy-dars or little Egyptian geese. Maybe if we're lucky, a black-headed heron or a grey heron. So Anton Lion Pride says this is the elephant vacation station or pit stop. Yes, I agree with you, Anton. This is like a little ultra city for our elephants. Nice place to grab a quick drink and a bite to eat, have a bit of a rest before carrying on their journey. So we have another question from Cairo Falk, who's asking, why do elephant males enter musk for aggressive hormone-fueled rampages? So Cairo Falk, this is a natural process that happens within elephants. Once they've become sexually mature, they'll generally come into musk normally once a year. And this is a period where, yes, they do become a bit rampant and can be quite destructive, these males. There's, especially the younger bulls, so much testosterone running through their brains. I mean, I've seen with older bulls, they generally tend to handle being in musk a lot better. It's just like, I guess, with us humans, when you're a young teenager, all those hormones really confuse us, and you get the teenage hormones, I like to call them, when you just don't know what's happening in life. So same as these elephants, these young bulls, they just don't know what's going on. These hormones are making them feel a certain way, and they'll destroy a lot of trees in the process. But as they age, these elephants do seem to become a lot more used to being in musk, and older elephant bulls tend to not be so volatile or rampant the older they get. They can handle these hormones a lot better. So it is important because of mating, for mating rights, because when these elephant bulls are in musk, they'll be determined to find a female that is in estrus for mating. So I have another question from Leora Talon, has asked, do elephants name each other with unique infrasonic rumbles? Leora, that is a very good question, and I'm actually not too sure, but elephants are such intelligent creatures, I would not put it past them. So I know there's a lot of elephant listening programs in lots of different countries in Africa. The one I know of is in Central African Republic, where they have these special infrasonic mics in this pan, zangabai, and they pick up on all the sounds and infrasonic communications between these elephants. And it's amazing, there's over 3,000 different kinds of sounds and calls that they have recorded. I mean, that's just a lot of different kinds of communication with elephants, and that's all infrasonic sound that is inaudible to the human ear. So yeah, it's amazing to hear and understand how elephants do communicate quite a lot without actually being audible. So I wouldn't be surprised, I know elephants can remember each other, but I wouldn't be surprised if elephants did have maybe names for one another, although it has not yet been recorded. So Torin Vele is asking, why do elephants avoid acacia thorns? So Torin, actually elephants have a very interesting way of feeding. So very similar to the method that giraffe use to feed. So when giraffe are feeding, they'll wrap their tongue. So giraffe's tongue are very rubbery, very tough, very rough little tongues of theirs that are over 30 centimeters, and they wrap their tongue around an acacia branch and pull down to remove all the leaves. And elephants will do the similar thing with their trunks. They wrap their trunk around an acacia branch and pull downwards, which then helps them to remove the leaves from the plants. Oh, look at these impala, and we've got a grey heron there. This waterhole is drying up quite quickly. Perfect hunting grounds for this heron, as these little puddles and pans are being formed by the drying and lowering water levels. Makes great little hunting grounds where there's trapped fish, little tadpoles, maybe frogs. So Alexander Lorne is asking, are impala the only antelope with glands that scent mark trees? So Alexander, no, many antelope do have scent glands. In fact, most antelope have scent glands and will mark their territories. In fact, wildebeest are quite aggressive in their territory marking. Sometimes wildebeest will destroy whole trees, like they'll completely shred trees of their leaves, like little stumpy trees. and will disturb the mud and disturb the soil. They'll make their little midden to mark their territory. So it's preorbital glands. So a lot of your antelope will have preorbital glands located somewhere on their face. Generally it's at the base of the eyes or in reedbuck, and your little oribi, it's behind or just below the ear. In impala they have also glands on their feet, so they're pedal glands. If you've ever seen an impala when they are kind of bounding up in the air or pronking, you'll see they have a black little patch at the back of their legs, and that is a pedal gland, which when they're running and they release a smell, it's almost like a follow me smell for other impala in the area to follow them.
Hello, I'm James Hendry, and I'd like to take you on a very different kind of safari through the wild heart of Madagascar. In Undersiebe, we'll track the Indri's eerie call through misty rainforest. Then it's east on to Masuala, where lemurs leap through the jungle, coral reefs glow beneath the waves, and adventure waits around every bend. Come, let's explore it together.
Best sighting I've presented, I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala, we got the end of that. Then another impala went into Gari Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special.
Morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow, that was amazing, everybody.
Threats during migration, as well as habitat loss while they're moving, climate change, as well as altering food availability along their route. This elephant really looks lazy. He's balancing his trunk on his tusk while he's drinking. Love to see our pied kingfishers again. I have not seen those pied kingfishers here for a while. And normally pied kingfishers will be solitary or in pairs. Must be getting a bit hotter here in Tembe because the elephants seem to have moved closer to the water. Talking about elephant bulls coming into musk, so these, if you have a look on the far left hand side of the screen, there's a young elephant bull there. So it's so crucial that these young bulls, once they've been kicked out of their prenatal group, that they join up with some older individuals or older bulls, so that they learn the lay of the land, they learn where are safe places to move, but also that they get disciplined and follow the hierarchical structure within this group. So these bigger boys, these bigger bulls, will often mentor these younger bulls, mentor them, put them in their place. There can be a lot of fighting and arguments that go on amongst the group, but it is quite important because that's where they are shaped and build their character, but also learn how to be an elephant. Definitely looks like this bull on the second bull to the left. I'd say he's the largest boy that has been here this afternoon. And you can see this younger bull on the far left. So they need to be submissive a lot of the time. The minute they step out of line or think they're a little bit too big for their boots, they will be very quickly put back into place by these older bulls. Shaping and mentoring these younger elephants. I mean, just like it is as important in a group of a breeding herd, that there's also a hierarchy there within the females too. So the matriarch, she's the main female or individual that's in charge of that group, and the rest will fall in and need to respect the matriarch at all times. And that's where they have their structure. They have very tight, close-knit family groups, and it's so important for them to be mentored in this manner. Oh, have a look, this elephant was like he's rubbing his trunk along his tusk. Maybe he had an itchy trunk. Now I feel like he has sleep in his eye. He's wiping his eyes, wiping his face with his trunk. Got an African jacana there down by this very murky water. It's a nice cool afternoon watching these elephant boys. This is our little spot where we often have our kingfisher, if we're lucky, grey-headed kingfisher, no, brown-hooded kingfisher that sometimes occurs, likes to sit up on these thorn bushes while he's scoping out for a meal. Look out on these trees if there's any other birds around. So Ben, a good question. Ben is asking, will the calves of tuskers also be tuskers? So Ben, we were just chatting earlier about the genes, good genes and genetics from these big elephant tusker bulls. So again, it all depends on which genes are the more dominant. But yeah, generally these tuskers will pass on their genes from one generation to the next, and that's why we're getting a lot of tuskless elephants at the moment, or a lot of big elephant bulls that might not necessarily have very long tusks, because the genes and the genetics of these super tuskers or tuskers are being lost. So that's why it's so important that these species have been preserved and protected, or this particular population here in Tembe Elephant Park. It's quite a large herd of impala. Alrighty folks, let's head across to Rosie's pan, see what else is happening out there. Looks like we've got a female elephant with a young calf, or sub-adult calf, a hippo, and impala, and some kudu. Wow, check how much is happening here at Rosie's pan. It's like happy hour. I think the kudu are a bit skeptical to come down for a drink. They can see that hippo there, a little bit unsure. Look at their body language. This elephant is giving herself a lovely splash. Looks like a nice warm day. You can see some of the vegetation has started to change in colour here at Rosie's, but I feel like they still do need to receive quite a lot more rain. There's not much grass cover. Perfect habitat, even though there's not much grass in this area. I mean, kudu are mostly their browsers, so they'll spend more of their time browsing. So thank goodness there's still quite a lot of browse for them. Look at this little elephant. This elephant cow is giving us a full close-up view of her back. So shame. You can see in these older elephant cows here, their spine, you often can't see the top of their spine as well as we're looking here, but often these older cows, you'll see they'll lose a lot of their muscle, a lot of weight and condition in their spine, as well as in their rump, a sign of aging, as well as their face. You'll see most of their skin will start to almost sag, and in some cases you can see their skin or muscle on their face. They lose a lot of their excess muscle, and you can see very droopy holes in their temporals. This elephant is getting a bit cheeky. You can see the kudu. Elephant is reaching for some green leaves on this fallen over tree. No, it just looks like a bit of a thicket here. This elephant doesn't have tusks, little tusks. It's probably about anything between just under, say just under a year and a half to just over a year and a half. So the tusks have just started erupting. I think the kudu are taking a sneaky approach to this pan. They're coming around, probably, there we go. So they're going to have a drink from the overflow. They're not too sure what's happening with that hippo. And isn't this strange? We've got one impala that is in this herd of kudu, which it's, I don't know if it's, we'll see if it's a female. Oh yeah, it's an impala female. It has a slight identity crisis. I've never seen that happen before. I've seen Thompson's gazelle and Grant's gazelle hanging out together, and obviously it's very strange. Alrighty folks, let's head across to Founders, see what's happening in the Eastern Cape. Looks like we've got another rhino visitor coming to say hello this afternoon. He seems to have a rather itchy nose. Must be such an annoying place. I imagine their horns, it's just the keratin. Their horns are comprised mostly of just keratin. It's like the same components in our hair and our nails, as we mentioned earlier, same with the beaks and bills of birds. So it doesn't necessarily get itchy, but rhinos will spend time sharpening their horns on rocks and logs like this, which doesn't happen I don't often see it, so it's very cool. I thought he had an itchy lip to start off with. It seems like he's just sharpening his deadly weapon. It's almost like sharpening a knife. I have seen them rubbing their horns up against trees, but this is a perfect little horn sharpening rock for this rhino. Very itchy face, this rhino. So again, you can see this rhino does have a collar on his front right leg, and most rhinos in private reserves or reserves that are trying to monitor their rhinos, they do have these tracking devices, and it is to protect them for their own safety. Normally, depending on the kind of device, they should last anything between 6 months to a year, usually in order to protect them and monitor their behavior, their movement, where they are, and in some cases it does save their lives. So they also have chips, microchips implanted in some reserves in their horns itself. Oh, looks like this rhino is coming down for a drink. Looks like it could be a big male. Been very lucky with rhinos today. Looks like some unusual weather that's brewing in the distance. And often rhinos and most antelope I've seen, when it does start getting very windy, they'll go and lie down somewhere, or rhinos, they'll try find somewhere that's out of the wind, under a tree, or normally low-lying areas to hide during these very windy or rainy days. So white rhino do need to drink daily, especially during very hot summer days. They can usually spend at least 5 to 10 minutes at a waterhole. They'll linger around for a bit, have a bit of a mud wallow, rest up on a tree while they're just enjoying a bit of a break from the hot day. Now, often approach these waterholes very quietly. So you can be sitting at a waterhole and you don't expect anything is happening, and then all of a sudden a rhino pops out of nowhere. And these white rhinos are semi-social creatures. They tolerate other individuals at a watering hole as long as some space is being maintained, but they can be quite violent and aggressive when protecting their watering spots. Males will often mark their territory near these watering holes as well. They do mark their territory quite a lot. Oh, no, there's another individual here. Oh, you've been really lucky with these rhinos today. It's interesting how you can have so many different individuals at a watering hole like this. So often you can have a little family group or female with the sub-adults, some males all drinking. As long as they kind of maintain each other's personal space, don't get too close, they tend to be very happy to drink in harmony all together. I still don't know what this rhino is doing with his horn. He's pushing his horn up again now on this rock. Maybe he got injured on his last interaction with another male in this area. Now he's trying to make sure that his horn is also very sharp. Or he's just sniffing the ground. I'm not too sure. So Peter, thank you for your question, Peter. Peter's asking what a tusker is. So Peter, tuskers are, or super tuskers are some of the largest elephants in Africa with very, very long tusks. Obviously in Tembe, we were in Tembe Elephant Park earlier, and Tembe is very much known for having some incredible tuskers, elephant tuskers. So these are elephants that have very, very long tusks. Oh. Just wondering what this rhino is up to. You see some of the big elephant tuskers throughout Africa can be found in parts of South Africa. We've got some in Kenya. It's amazing, some of these incredible tuskers. Then we've got Craig, Amboseli is also known, Amboseli and Savo also known to have some incredible elephant tuskers. We've got Tim, unfortunately, who has passed away of natural causes. He was in Amboseli, so there's these incredible elephant tuskers that can still be found throughout Africa. But look at this big boy. Seems like our rhino cow and her calf that left earlier are still hanging out around here, and this elephant bull has also come for a drink. He's curling his tail there. Often that behavior can be a bit of frustrated or aggressive behavior. Here's our rhino cow. Her calf seems to be very snoozy, having a bit of a nap. So these incredibly large rhinos, white rhinos, are the larger between the two species. White rhino males can weigh anything between about 2,000 to 2,300 kilograms, and the females can normally weigh between 1,700 to 1,800 kilograms. And yeah, incredible height. And normally between black and white rhino, they're very similar, that they both have grayish skin, even though the white rhino has the difference of, obviously in different areas the rhino skin might look different because of the different soil types and soil colors that they mud bath in, although their skin is always gray. And the differences besides the body size, the habitat that they occur in, obviously white rhinos have much bigger and thicker necks and square shaped lips, and that's to feed on the grass that they feed on in these open grassland areas, whereas black rhinos are browsers, so they have a pointy shaped lip, and that's to manage to collect vegetation, or they use that pointed lip to feed vegetation into their mouths, unlike the white rhino that are just like these giant lawn mowers of the African bush, helping to keep the grass levels nice and short. These white rhinos can spend about 15 to 16 hours a day grazing. The rest of the time they'll be resting and sleeping. This female rhino is also giving her face a bit of a scratch on this log. Alrighty folks, let's head back to Rosie's pan, see what else is happening out there today. Seems like we've got a few more elephants that have joined us at the waterhole here. We had 2 earlier, but seems like we've got the rest of the herd have also come down to have a drink. We have a question from Uma, who's asking, can white rhino communicate over far distances? So yes, Uma, white rhinos do communicate in a variety of grunts, growls and snorts during very social interactions. Mothers and calves will often have a bit of a bonding call amongst each other. The mothers will almost hum to their calves, especially at night. That's to maintain contact when visibility is low. But yeah, they can communicate over quite a distance, these white rhinos. They use some low frequency sounds. So I'd say over a kilometer, rhinos, roughly over a kilometer, they can use these low frequency sounds that can carry over a very long distance. Oh, these elephants are just relaxing, having a nice afternoon by the waterhole. There's not much vegetation out there for them, so I really do hope the rains come in full force this year and we get enough rains at all of our different locations, because some years we've been having early rains or late rains, not enough rain during the actual rainy season. So I do pray that we have incredible rains throughout Africa this year. We have another question from Ren Dax, is asking, why are only the northern white rhinos nearly extinct? So good question there, Ren. So to answer your question, northern white rhinos have been heavily targeted for their horns, which are highly valuable on the black market. And unfortunately, poaching in Sudan, DRC and Uganda has escalated in the last couple of years. So from the 70s to the 2000s, it did drastically reduce the number of northern white rhinos. Obviously, some of these countries are still having trouble with war, so normally in these war-torn countries poaching does go a bit on the rise. So by 2010 only a handful of individuals of these northern white rhinos did remain. Most of them were in protected reserves and conservancies. So this is why you do have a very small population, and then because there's such a small population, there's a lot of inbreeding, which also reduces your genetic variety, which then decreases the reproductive success of that particular species. So natural breeding is extremely difficult with such few survivals within one species. So all remaining individuals are either very old or infertile, or possibly very much inbred with one another. So the elephant on the left seems to have a very itchy leg. Keeps scratching his leg every now and then. Shame, these elephants, even though they do have very thick skin, sometimes they can get nasty thorns or branches impaling into their legs, but it's amazing how well they heal. They do heal incredibly well. I've had one elephant bull When I was working in West Africa, Shem, he was a forest elephant and he had a nasty leg injury, so he always had a bit of a limp. And he got attacked by some other elephant bulls one night and they completely ripped a hole in his back thigh to the point where he had a whole panel of skin after a few weeks that was flapping open, and it was quite a nasty, big, open, gaping wound. But that flap of skin eventually fell off, and even though it took months and months and months, about 8 months later, his skin completely healed over. It was always a bit lighter in color, and you would see he was quite irritated and constantly putting mud on it, but this does actually help them sometimes. And amazing how resilient these elephants are to surviving and also healing from injuries in the wild.
Even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh! Whoa. This is action-packed.
My full name is Mpho Tikani. I grew up in Soweto. My first animal that I filmed, Cedric Dodd. Okay, no, wait. My first animal that I filmed, I think it was an impala. Best sighting ever, I would say it was actually this year, 2024. But it was this Cedric when we had Mulwati and TP on a warthog kill. I think we have to cut it.
Ria, you say the best kind of roadblock? Absolutely. Look at this.
Hello, girls.
Look at these two little elephants, and we've got a grey heron. It's also standing by very peacefully, not too phased about what's happening around it. He's not worried about the elephants at all. He's grooming himself. Oh, look, this one elephant is standing on the other. So Candace, thanks for your question. Candace is asking, do you think that elephants plan to meet up for fun swims? Candace, that is a very good question. In this case, I feel like this was an elephant swimming pool party date so that these youngsters could play with one another, but not necessarily. I don't think they'll actually plan to meet each other, but it just happens to be coincidence that, elephants, if they're moving through an area, they will stop in at a waterhole that's nearby and have a drink, but do find it seems to be more productive and busy for elephants midday and also leading into your late afternoon, evening, is where if they haven't drunk all day, then elephants will be more focused on finding water spots and places to drink. And of course, that's when they will meet each other, and this time that they have at these waterholes is so important. They spend a lot of time also socializing and bonding with one another. As you can see, these two youngsters are just having such a great little pool party over there. Almost playing like almost an elephant version of tug of war or something like that with each other. Quite boisterous and drowning each other. I hope that, yeah. I hope they're okay, but yeah, they look like they are having the best time. So yeah, it is very important for their social development, these elephants, that they do spend a lot of time with other individuals, lots of meeting and greeting, lots of communication with one another, seeing long lost friends that they might have not seen for quite some time as well, and they can remember each other. Alrighty folks, let's head back across to Rosie's pan. So it looks like we've got one elephant that's in the water now, which is quite interesting because there's also a hippo in this pan that doesn't seem to be too perturbed by the fact that the elephants come through this water hole or through this pan. The hippo has not moved an inch. It's quite interesting. We've seen one day there was a whole herd of elephants in this pan and the hippo did not move at all. He just stayed there as he slowly became more and more surrounded by elephants, and he was not fazed at all. Even though one of the elephants kept going up to the hippo and being very curious of him, I felt like the elephant wanted to touch the hippo, but he was a little bit afraid. Sure, rather interesting. The only time I've seen the hippo moving out of the this pan, look at this elephant. He just fell down onto his back legs and now is just really cooling himself off. I mean, imagine these poor elephants. They spend hours and hours out in the hot African sun, that sun beating down on their backs, nowhere to run from, nowhere to hide, and they finally get a moment to just let loose, cool down, and enjoy a swim. So Hannah, yes, this is a solo elephant pool party, but that does not seem to stop him from having a great time. Who says you need to have friends to have fun? That's what this elephant is thinking. He's like, I'm going to have just as much fun by myself as if there was other elephants with me. Oh, look at this guy. Definitely is a solo elephant pool party dance. We're witnessing some rather strange behavior today on Live at the Waterhole, and that's what I love about being able to experience these waterholes, is you pick up and realize that animals, they do strange things sometimes, like our tawny eagle that had a kill, almost kill, not kill, and then was feeding on some leaves from a tree. It's very weird. Maybe he was also having identity crisis. Now there's this solo elephant pool party happening where this elephant is having a great time. One elephant having a great time with himself. Making quite a splash. You see these young elephants get quite curious of the hippo. He might even go and try and investigate the hippo. But this is not the right hippo to mess with, because this hippo doesn't move for anything. So it's a very special location we have here. Alrighty folks, well, let's head back across to Lentor and see what birds are waiting for us. Oh, looks like we have a parliament of baboons that have come to join us at the waterhole. So folks, we had a mystery birds that we saw here. There's a little flock of very interesting rufous colored birds with grey heads. Martina was very kind to send us a suggested ID of a Cape rock thrush, which I believe doesn't actually occur in Kenya. So I think these birds are still a silver bird. The grey-headed silver bird was the bird that we saw earlier at this location. So look, they do look very similar to the Cape rock thrush, but fortunately that Cape rock thrush doesn't occur in Kenya. So thank you, Catherine, for helping me on the ID of that grey-headed silver bird. It's obviously the behavior of these silver birds are very different to the normal silver bird that I've seen. The normal silver bird I've seen is more like flycatcher behavior, hang out solitary or maybe in pairs, whereas these grey-headed silver birds hang out in small flocks, and they do look quite finch-like compared to the average silver bird, which looks more like a little flycatcher. Wow, it is very dry here at Lentore. Hopefully they also receive some rain sometime soon. The baboons are obviously coming down for their nice chilled midday drink at the waterhole. I wonder where our hummerkops are. We often had some hummerkop, or a hummerkop, that used to reside at this pan. Oh, that looked like a bee eater. Could have been like a white-fronted bee eater that just came down for a drink. Such a special spot, our baboon tree on the right there. Oh, it's a vervet monkey. Oh, looks like we've got a little vervet monkey. Also coming down for a drink. Vervet monkeys also need to be very careful of predators when they come down. So this could be a scout, a male vervet monkey that's looking out for new territory, new land. It's lovely to see vervet monkeys. So often the trooper baboons will often visit this waterhole, especially in the mornings, midday and afternoons. But it's quite rare to see a vervet monkey down here. I haven't seen a vervet monkey at Lentore before, so nice to see a vervet monkey. Alrighty folks, while our baboons are moving off, let's head across to Founders on the Eastern Cape. Oh, so we've still got our rhinos that are here at Founders Lodge, and look how quickly this weather is changing. My goodness, those clouds are really starting to change colour. They're looming. I think we might have some rain in the Eastern Cape maybe later on today. Rather ominous weather that they are having in the Eastern Cape there. But our rhinos don't seem to be too fazed by this weird weather. You can see it's still a bit of a windy day. So much activity at this location today. This looks like our sub-adult that's finally got up from its little nap. Maybe also going to come down for a drink before they move off. So some nice acacia trees in this area for these rhinos to lie up under. Otherwise it's pretty open. Nice grassland. Look at this rhino with his giant clunky feet. I feel like rhinos, just like baby lions, always look like their feet are too big for their bodies. They almost have to grow into their feet. Alrighty folks, well it has been a pleasure being with you this afternoon on Live at the Waterhole. I will be joining you tomorrow as well. Please have a lovely afternoon.